あれそもそも友達ってなんだっけ？
そっか、トドマツくんは友達っていう概念すら持ってないんだね。
Hey everybody, welcome to another lesson of Learn Japanese with Anime. Today we're going to be covering another anime line of the day from none other than the show Osomatsu-san, Season 2. And this is going to be from episode 6. And our line is going to be not everything that you just heard from the clip right now, but just one sentence from it, and that is going to be Sokka, Todomatsu-kun wa tomodachiって概念すら持ってないんだね. And what this line is going to translate to is basically something along the lines of, I see, the concept of friends doesn't even exist in Todomatsu's mind. So before we go and jump into this line, let's just review the vocabulary list that we have of the words that stand out in this line. We're going to have three. The first one, pretty darn simple. One of the most common words in the entire language, tomodachi, which is going to translate to friend or friends. You should hear this a lot in anime because it's used frequently. Next up, we have a much more kind of complex word, the word gainen, which is going to translate to concept. Basically the idea of something, the concept of something, the notion of something. Then last but not least, but admittedly more common than the one we just covered, the verb motsu, which means to have, to possess, basically. Alright, so we know the definition to these three words now. Let's dissect our line one by one. First up, we just have the word Sokka, which is just going to mean basically I see or oh. It's kind of there in its own sentence just because it's this one word phrasing. Moving into the bulk of it, we start with the name of the character that she is talking about, Todomatsu-kun. Again, it's just the name with the honorific kun. Getting into some actual grammar here, we're going to mark Todomatsu-kun as the topic with the particle wa. After the wa appearing is our first vocabulary word, tomodachi, friend, or in this case, friends. Then we're going to mark friends with this small su plus te, which is basically going to kind of quote what's before it. So we're kind of quoting friends. And after that quoting marker, the te, is going to be our second vocabulary word, which is gainen, which means concept. So basically what we have here is tomodachi te gainen. That's gonna be something along the lines of friends in quotes, then the word concept after that. So kind of more naturally, that'll be the concept of quote friends unquote. After this, we have a kind of strange occurrence here with the particle sura, which is actually quite the advanced topic. I believe this is categorized in like the N2 or N1 levels in terms of JLPT, which means it's pretty up there and not a particle that you'll come across too often. What it's going to translate to is basically something along the lines of even. So far we'll have something like even the concept of friends. Let's move along and we'll make more sense of it as we go. We'll have our third vocabulary word appearing here, the word motsu, which means to have. So this is probably going to link with the concept of friends. So to have the concept of friends. It's going to be in its te form because it's going to be used in conjunction with what is basically the helping verb iru. So the te form of a verb plus iru means basically to be doing that verb. So in this case, our verb is motsu, which means to have. So motte iru is going to translate to something along the lines of to be having, or we more naturalize that to basically to have or to possess, because even though it's kind of like in the present tense and it's not, we're not saying is having, it still represents a continual action. To have something, you continue to have it. However, what we actually want to say is that he doesn't have this. So we're going to conjugate the iru there, the helping verb iru, into its negative nai form. So it turns into inai. But what we're also going to do is we're going to drop the first e in that and just turn it into nai. That just makes things more casual, so it represents a more casual speech going on here. Then we end the whole sentence with this triumvirate of sentence ending particles, basically the n to kind of denote this explanation, the da right there to use it as the copula, then the ne. So altogether, once again, Sokka, Todomatsu-kun wa tomodachiって概念すら持ってないんだね. And this is going to translate to basically, oh, I see. So basically, Todomatsu doesn't even have the concept of friends. Then the implication is kind of like, doesn't have the concept of friends in his mind, or isn't a part of his vocabulary or something along those lines if we want to word it more naturally in English. Alright, so that's actually going to cover it for this anime line of the day. We broke down the line and let's see how many grammar patterns we have a part of it. Basically, the particle sura, which is pretty complex, the te form of the verb motsu, then the negative nai form of the verb iru. So basically 3 grammar patterns going on here. Other than that, a decent amount of sentence ending particles and just vocabulary words. And finally, whether or not we can apply this kind of construction to say other things in a real life application, I'm honestly not too sure, just because I'm not too familiar with seeing that particle sura show up in casual conversation, so I'm not sure how dependable a line this is to construct other things to say are. Regardless of that, hopefully with our breakdown you understood how everything is going on in the sentence either way. And this line is actually a part of an exchange with a bunch of other lines that are pretty darn comedic and entertaining, so I'm going to leave not only one bonus line in the description and comments below, but a couple of them just because of how extensive this conversation is. So try to make sense of those in their native Japanese and catch on to this show's poignant stance on friendship.
あれそもそも友達ってなんだっけ？
そっか、トドマツくんは友達っていう概念すら持ってないんだね。
あれって昔話だよね。確か江戸時代とかにあった制度だよね。
ちげーよバーロー、今もある。
今もあんの友達っていう制度。
制度とかじゃない。
Alright, that's gonna wrap it up for this episode of Anime Line of the Day. Remember, if there were grammar patterns mentioned for this line, they'll be mentioned in the description or the pinned comment below with links to the individual lessons on them. You can also probably find them in the playlist of our complete grammar video series shown on the screen right here alongside our anime playlist. And last but not least, don't forget to try to translate the bonus line we provided. Leave your translation in a comment below. Check out our Patreon, like the video, and subscribe. With all that said and done, see you next time.